This video is for adults only. It's for grown-ups who have responsibilities, kids, maybe grandkids. Maybe you've got a job that just requires you to do a lot of stuff, and then you've got kids you got to take care of, and you have noticed that it's harder and harder every day to do simple things like stand up out of a chair or squat down low to pick up a pencil, and you're getting really tired of having such weak legs. In this video, I'm going to show you some more options to help you get your legs stronger at home without having to go to a gym and without having to buy some crazy special equipment. So if you're ready, let's get ready to think right, move right, and feel right. Let's jump right into the options, and then later I will explain how you can decide which one to use and how often to do these exercises to build your leg strength. So the first option is one I've shown in a previous video, and I will link to that in the description box and at the end of the video. Basically, you just need a chair or a wall or a counter, and you want to just have your heels elevated if you can. I'm using a special piece of equipment, but it's basically a piece of wood. If you have yoga blocks, if you have stacks of books, you can just put them under your heels, hang on to this thing to help you balance, and then you're going to slowly lower yourself down only to where you feel you can safely control without crunching, popping, snapping, whatever. Just going down, and then you're going back up. You want to feel your leg muscles work. You will feel some of your butt muscles work. When you feel like you get a little bit tired, then you get to take a rest. Take a minute rest, take 90 seconds rest, maybe 2 minutes if you feel really gassed. Over time, you want to just work on getting lower and lower and lower until you can get really, really low. Having the heels elevated makes it a lot easier to get really low because you probably have really stiff ankles, and we're not going to address that in this video. So that heel elevation lets you get low, lets your legs work through a nice full range of motion. Also, you can play around with your foot width. So it could be shoulder width, it could be wider than shoulders. If you're flexible enough, you might be able to get it here with your feet pretty close together. You get to decide on what feels good for your body, and over time, you can play around going narrower or wider so that you have more and more options. Just remember, as you play around with different options, that you don't force yourself into a depth that feels dangerous. So maybe when you're here at shoulder width, it feels like, yeah, I can go really deep, but then when you go wider, you go, whoa. Don't force that and pop your knees or pop your hips. Gradually build strength in the full range of motion. All right, so that's option number one. Again, I will link to a full workout that you can do that's going to be in the description box and linked at the end. So then option number two is to do it without any help, okay? So you get rid of all the implements, everything's gone. You work on building your depth, okay? Work on getting down into that primal squat, Asian squat, Ethiopian squat, miner squat, kimchi squat, mechanics squat. I'm trying to remember all the names of the squats I've seen people write. Slav squat, that's another one. Again, just keep going until you get tired, and then once you're tired, take a minute or two for rest. And after you're done with that rest, do another set. And I suggest you do 2 to 3 sets, okay? That's gonna apply to every exercise I show you in this video. 2 to 3 sets, go until you get fatigued, rest. After you're done with your rest, do another set. You're gonna do a total of 2 to 3 sets. Make sure you take adequate rest so your legs are ready to do each set and they feel comfortable. And of course, if it feels like you can only do a lower amount with each subsequent set, that's okay, that means you're getting tired. Before I show you how to take your squats to the next level, I want to also show you how to do squats if you can't really comfortably do two-legged squats. This will help prepare you for doing two-legged squats, and it can also help you get way stronger in your legs, but you can do it one at a time. So this time we're standing next to something to help us balance. We got 1 foot forward, 1 foot back, and then you're just going to lower yourself down, trying to use the front leg more than the back leg. So you want to feel this thigh and this butt cheek working to lift you up. Okay, put as much weight into this side as you can, and just feel those muscles work and burn. Now from the side view, you can see this knee basically stays over the ankle, but over time, as you build strength and control, you can definitely play around with letting the knees go forward. You can be back here with the knee a little bit more behind the ankle. You just want to have options, but start with the knee over the ankle, and then just feel for this, squeeze here, and like that. If you want to make this exercise a little bit harder, you can elevate your foot so that you get even more depth on this hip. So now I'm just trying to do that same split squat, but now you can see this angle is getting smaller. That's making it more like the angle I get when I go into a squat. You can see how small this angle gets. By elevating my foot, I can recreate that without my knee jamming into the floor as much. Make sure you do both sides and go to a depth that you can control comfortably. Don't force yourself to go into anything that hurts your knee or hurts your hip or hurts your back. Pay attention. Remember that slow is safe and fast is foolish. Go until you feel fatigued, like you can't do the exercise properly anymore, and then take a rest of 1 to 2 minutes and do 2 to 3 sets. Alas, the struggle of split squats, I knew thee well. So on a quick personal note, when I was in my 20s, I had been really sedentary because my doctor told me the only way to heal my body was to not use it. And so my legs got really, really weak. And the first time I went back into the gym to build my leg strength, I realized, wait a minute, I can't even do a split squat. It is so wobbly, I can't balance. I used to do these with so much weight in my hands. So I want you to know that if you are trying these exercises and you're feeling like, oh my, yeah, I can't believe this, there must be something terribly wrong with me. There's nothing terribly wrong with you. It's just that you live in a society that encourages you to be as sedentary as possible. And you live in a society where the medical system, the health care system wants you to be as weak as possible because somehow that's going to make you safer, except you're just gonna atrophy. That's what's happened to you. And remember that atrophy aches. So instead of getting all worried, remember to ATM, always think muscles, and remember that muscles die if you don't use them, and if you do use them, they get better and better at what you're trying to get them to do. So that's what we're doing here. Now let's talk about how we're gonna progress all these leg strengthening exercises so that your legs can get even stronger in the long run. When you're comfortable with a squat variation, whether your heels are elevated or your heels are just on the floor, you can start adding weight. And that's simple to do by grabbing a light kettlebell or a dumbbell and just holding it right in front of your chest, right under your chin, and then doing the same exact motion. There's nothing fancy here. You can grab a bottle of water, you can grab a heavy can of hominy or whatever you want to do. I don't care. Just hold on to something that adds a little weight that's going to make your legs work harder. Now the physicists out there might be thinking, well, how can I increase the load and still hold it? Like, what if I end up having to hold a 60-pound kettlebell? My arms can't do it. Well, guess what? You don't actually have to hold 60 pounds to load your whole body. You can do a little trick like this. You can just take that same light weight and force one leg to do all the work. So if I'm doing the split squats focused on one leg, I'm holding that weight. I'm making this leg do all the work, so I don't have to hold quite as much weight to get the same or close to the same benefit. So here we go, up and down, up and down. And if I want to make this leg work harder, I can be doing different variations like a reverse step split squat, right? I can be doing that, forcing this leg to do as much work as possible through the largest range of motion I can safely manage. I can do the same thing, just like I showed you earlier, going into a deeper split squat, and then I can just bump up the weight just a little bit, and that's going to force this leg to do a whole lot more. If you have something going on with your hands and wrists that makes it really difficult for you to hold stuff, then you can also look at getting a weight vest. Just go to your local sporting goods store, put that weight vest on, and then you can do your squats just wearing that weight vest, or do your split squats wearing that weight vest. That's gonna be easier for your hands and wrists. You don't have to hold on to anything, you don't have to balance anything, and you've loaded your body with a little extra weight. The key to getting stronger muscles anywhere is to just add weight, but make sure it's a weight that you can manage, that your body isn't going to freak out at, and that you're not gonna pop or snap any joints while you're trying to do it at. This weight vest is too heavy for the grammar muscles. Now, if you're a grown-up adult with responsibilities, you may not have the bandwidth to go much farther than what I've shown you here, and that's fine. But if you really want to get really strong legs like you had when you were a teenager, you're probably going to have to start doing barbell squats, or you're going to use heavier dumbbells or heavier loads while doing things like split squats, but with your rear foot elevated, which is a much more advanced maneuver, but can be really helpful for crushing those muscles and making them get super duper strong. And again, if you really want to get stronger, you just got to keep loading it up and loading it up. But again, you've got a day job, you've got responsibilities, maybe you're retired and maybe it's really not worth your effort. It's your call, but you should have enough strength to handle the weight of your body pretty easily going down to the floor and back up without feeling like your whole body's going to explode. So at least use that as a gauge of what you're trying to achieve. Can you actually squat down to the floor comfortably without anything hurting? Can you go on one leg to do something similar without anything hurting? If you can't, then build some leg strength. Stronger legs are always better. Unless you start getting into powerlifting and bodybuilder territory, in which case you might need to be balancing out a bunch of that strength work with some more stretching and general mobility. But let's be honest, that's not you. That's not you. Now let's talk about how you're going to choose the variation that feels best for you. So first of all, I encourage you to do the very first variation with your heels elevated on some books or whatever you got and some help so that you can just find the squat, figure out what it feels like. If you have a massive leg length discrepancy, like you know one leg is clearly longer than the other, and every time you go into the squat, it just feels like you're all twisty and you can't seem to figure out how to stop that from happening, then first of all, slow down, reduce the range of motion, and see if there is a range you can control symmetrically. But if one leg was really just longer and there's nothing you can do about that, I strongly encourage you to do the split squats, okay? Use some help, do your split squats, focus on keeping yourself square, focus on feeling the leg muscles and glutes work, and then switch sides. If you find a weaker side, which you probably will, do some extra repetitions for that weaker side so it can catch up. And make sure, again, that you're not like twisting or doing anything weird unconsciously or unintentionally. You want to have control, you want to have volition at every position. If the squats feel good, then just keep doing them, keep building your depth, keep building your control, and when you feel ready, start using some weight with a weight vest or a dumbbell in front of you or a kettlebell in front of you. If you want to build more strength in your legs, but you don't want to hold more weight, then switch into the split squats again and find the variation that feels controllable, that feels good for you, hold on to some weight, or you can elevate a foot, you can elevate this foot as I showed you. All these different options are good and are going to help you isolate one leg, and that's going to help you load more into that leg because it's just one leg working. Whatever option you're working with, do 2 to 3 sets. Make sure you take about a minute or 2 minutes of rest in between so that you feel ready to go with whatever legs are supposed to be working. And every week I suggest doing that 2 to 3 times a week. That means something like Monday and Thursday, or if you're doing it 3 times a week, do it Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Make sure you have some rest periods in there so that your muscles can actually recover. If all you do is hammer and batter and break your muscles are just gonna be broken. So make sure you give yourself time to recover. Make sure you're eating well. Make sure you're eating foods that feel good for your body, not just the ones that taste good, because the ones that taste the best are probably not good for your body. All these exercises are extremely important for your overall health and longevity, so give them a try and don't get discouraged. Work on these week by week, month by month, and you will see results over time. If doing any of these exercises feels really clunky and poppy in your hip joints, then make sure to check out the Healthy Hips program. You'll find it at uprighthealth.com/DIY, and I will also link it in the description box down below. It'll help you get more mobility, flexibility, strength, etc. in your hips so that you can do things like squat comfortably. If you'd like more free videos to help you with your body, be sure to check these out right here. And thanks to all the supporters who have donated. I'm going to put their names all up on screen here. If you want to support me too, uprighthealth.com/donate. Like, share, and subscribe. And as always, I hope you remember that pain sucks. Life shouldn't.